Merry Christmas Eve or Merry Christmas, depending on where you are, where your time zone is. It's been a hot minute or five since I 100% meant to come in here and Christmasify my channel and Christmasify my room. You know, honestly, for weeks now. For weeks I have wanted to. It is Christmas Eve. We're less than 12 hours away from Christmas, and I don't want it to be Christmas. I just want to sleep through it. So that seemed like all the more reason to come here and decorate this little tree with some Bangtan-spin ornaments and love, and spend it with you, just in case there's one of you. Just in case even if there's only one of you who has had a hard year and is feeling really alone for Christmas, whether you're actually physically alone, or whether you're grieving something, or whether you're just grieving how hard this year has been. If you're feeling alone or feeling like a failure, I want you to have me. I want you to, and I want to have you. I wish you were here in my room with me, and I would give you coffee or hot chocolate. I bought this tree in like September, and I was so excited to buy it. I was so excited in anticipation for Christmas, and last year I felt really good for Christmas. I mean, my marriage didn't feel good. As anyone who's been here for that long will remember. But I had just got back from LA. I had gone and I had seen BTS. And I had taken charge of my life and not asked permission. And this year did not go at all how I expected it to. I have a BTS Christmas list on Spotify and on YouTube Music, and I will try to remember to put the links below in case you want to listen to them. Anyhow, we'll start with the holiday remix of Butter, because how appropriate. I'm talking about last year and how, you know, when I finished 2021, this year just has not gone how I wanted it to. It hasn't. I've got to get back to roots. I've got to get back to basics. I have to get back to what we do here. Let me look through my collection of ornaments. So, all my BTS ornaments, they're actually all cheap keychain sets that I got from Amazon, and then took wire cutters and cut the keychains off and turn it instead to Christmas ornaments by adding ribbon. I've thought a lot about what I wanted to say when I sat down to decorate a Christmas tree with you guys. Came up with ideas and then scrapped them, and I wanted to just be happy because I'm really tired of crying all the time. But this year has really been phenomenally hard. Peaches actually messaged me today and said something about it's the expectation of something more that often leads to disappointment. As she was speaking about Christmas, but how appropriate that is for like life in general. I've stated ever since I listened to J-Hope's Jack in the Box that I've been struggling with the concept of, is hope even good? Because if I didn't have hope that things would work out, I wouldn't be let down. And Mr. Christmas Tree himself. Again, I'm not going to be too afraid to be emotional in this video. I'm sick, so I'm also snotty. If I sound kind of rough, that's why. But it's been a really hard year. I've gone full Trisha Paytas now. I'm in my bedroom floor crying. I just need to be in the kitchen floor, and it's like full on. I feel really stupid that I've cried so much this year. You know, in 2021 I cried some about my marriage struggles. But when I did it that year, I also sort of had resolve that I was going to be okay, because I knew that there was nothing wrong with me. And I knew that my husband and I just are incompatible and look at things differently, and I didn't want that to happen either, because I have loved this guy since I was 9. Not that that's exactly healthy, but it is what it is. He is my first love, the love of my life, and I gave myself away. I just gave myself up so much. Anyhow, you guys have heard the story multiple times how BTS saved my life in 2020 and in 2021, and I'm forever thankful to BTS, not just for saving my life, but for just being beautiful souls and inspiring spirits. And they really are, the way that they inspire other people to live and to keep fighting. And in 2021, I believed that. I was fighting. In fact, I didn't even feel like a fight. I had really rough days sometimes, but I felt like I could conquer all of it. Like I had hope. I knew that I believed in healing and that there was a way through this. And after I went to LA, I came back and honestly, it's like I started punishing myself. I felt guilty. I took so much pride in making that trip happen and not asking permission to go, like it was just going to happen. And I felt so good about that. And then I came back and I could see that my husband felt hurt and very excluded. Even though for years neglect and damage had been done, I still hated seeing that look on the face of somebody that I love. So I started punishing myself, and I still, like, I was trying to fight through it. I was trying to, like, grab my inner strength again after LA. I went and got a passport, and I started listening to Abraham Hicks, and I made an appointment with a gynecologist to, like, take better control of my sexual health and my feminine body. And I just, like, I was grasping all of that in December and January and February to, like, get things in place for where my life was going, thanks to the entire concept of permission. And then I fell in February 5th, and I had been falling a lot because I was preoccupied, constantly preoccupied with pain, with guilt, with fear of what it will take for me to strike out on the world on my own. Fear that nobody will ever love me. Fear that I am screwing up everything. And then I fell. Broke my skull and my ribs and my arm. And then, like, for 3 weeks, it just was like building up this frustration because I felt very alone all over again in my marriage. Finally, we talked about it. We talked about it. This is the end of February. We talked about it, and we were both, a man who does not cry was in tears. We were gung-ho. We were fixing this marriage. We were in this together. I felt so much hope and so much love and so much joy that we were finally in it together after all these years. And then it was like, within a matter of weeks again, everything went back to the way it had always been, and I felt all alone all over again. And all the things that I said I had to have non-negotiably to be happy in a marriage, like, were vanishing again. When I pointed that out, it felt like I was being treated like I was crazy. And it just kind of turned into a downward spiral from there. Let me put some more of these gorgeous men back on the tree. Let's do that. What a shit year. I needed sweeping changes in my life. I needed, like, huge pattern breaks from the way things have been. And I was assured that we were in it together and we were doing it. And then it wasn't. It was me. It felt like me. And I'm not saying he wasn't doing stuff. He was, but it was just like not. It's not what we talked about. It's not. It's like the wall would go right back up immediately. And I would be left there knocking again, trying to get attention, trying to get love. And I avoided coming here. And I avoided watching anything Bangtan related for most of this year. And I avoided myself. I had dreams for myself for this year, and things that I wanted to do with you, and things that I wanted to do for you. the energy was just gone. I felt crazy. I ended up in therapy. I've been in therapy again for most of this year. Maybe I'll cut all of this out. I don't know. I hope there's not sound on my face. If there is, here we are. I don't have any lights in my room. I have one lamp that's up behind me. I mentioned that I avoided coming here this year, and I want to explain why a little bit while I continue to hang beautiful men on the tree. That sounded fucked up, so please pardon how triggering and fucked up that sounded. Hang beautiful ornaments on the tree. That's what we're gonna say. I avoided here, this channel, and like fully swimming in Bangtan this year and pursuing the stuff that I wanted to. One, because my energy was so depleted, but also because it felt like a betrayal to working on my marriage. And I told my husband that I was all in. That if he was all in, I was all in, we were all in. And I know that by pursuing this community, that I end up voicing truths that would be painful to him. Things that I'm voicing to him too, but also by working toward my dreams that are encouraged by Bangtan and ARMY. It's pulling me further and further away from the life that I know that he wants and is set in stone that he's gonna have. There's like no room for discussion, which is a big problem. And it's like every time I felt we'd both say we were all in, and then as soon as, you know, I'd be like, okay, we're all in, and I can be who I really am and do the things that ignite me, and he will also find the same, and we're gonna just fall in love with each other all over again. And instead we would have the talk, and then I would go back to like being passionate about something, and then I would also go back to feeling ignored, realize that nothing was changing between us. We weren't doing the work we needed to do between us. And as he would grow distant and preoccupied, I would push this further away. I'd push you further away. I'd push myself further away so that I could be available for him to want to connect with me. And as any of you who've been through anything like this may know, I can't speak for every marriage. Denying yourself makes you the loneliest person ever, because you're not even speaking your own story, you're not connecting with the things that ignite you, and you rarely, I think, come out the other side feeling better for it, like you've accomplished the dream marriage, the dream life, the dream whatever. When I do come here, I'm open, right? I'm open. I think that's pretty undeniable. I share my tears, and I do share considerably what's going on, but I've realized that I'm able to do that and still keep you at a distance. I'm able to be open without allowing myself to actually be vulnerable. I know a lot of people feel like being able to express feelings and share feelings and put into words what's going on is vulnerable. And it is perhaps more vulnerable than a lot of people feel capable of doing. Oh, by the way, my son made that. My son made that at school, and he wanted me to have that for my tree, for my room. He knows that I'm sad that I'm down here. And he knows that I had a gold tree in my room, so he gave me that. The sweetest. But again, I've been open without actually being vulnerable to you. And it's because I'm scared. I'm scared to come here constantly and share my tears with you. Who wants to see that? Who wants to come here and constantly see somebody crying about their own life? Not just about how beautiful that these men are, but about their own woes. Further, I feel like I have let all of you down. Anybody who's been part of this channel since 2021, I feel like I have let you down. Because last year I was strong. Last year I created the channel hoping that anybody who felt like me was being treated like they were crazy for loving BTS would find me and know that they weren't alone. And then at the end of the year, when like the concert was announced and I decided by myself in the middle of the night, for the first time in my life, I'm not asking anything. I'm doing this. I'm going. I felt like I was going to have a lot to share with you in 2022 to inspire you. I thought I was going to be strong and continue growing and continue guiding a light toward you to show you that if you're struggling, how much better life is going to keep getting for you, for me, for all of us. And instead I tanked this year. Every time I put my hope in my marriage, I felt like it blew up in my face. And every time it blew up in my face, I've had blackout anxiety attacks this year. I've never had blackout anxiety attacks. That started in April and in May when I'd be having arguments with my husband, and it felt like he was denying that he said he was all in the way that I understood him to be. And anyway, communication problems, and I started having blackout anxiety attacks, and then I got myself into therapy because I was starting to self-harm again. Most of you don't know it, the reason I shaved the side of my head wasn't to look like a cool wrestler back in May. It's because in a total moment of pure anxiety attack where I felt like I couldn't breathe, I wrapped my fingers around a chunk of hair and yanked it out. Just to, like, when they say I feel so crazy I could rip my hair out, that literally happened. And I had a weird bald spot there from it. So I just shaved, like, went with the look, and it felt awful. It just felt awful feeling my year fall apart. It felt awful that by September, I started having suicide ideation again. It felt awful that I felt like I gave up all over again. And that, like, I felt resigned to things just have to be how they have to be, you know. By November, which is just a month ago, I had literal days again that I didn't think I could get through. And the difference this time, was that I knew I had done it before. I knew that I had gotten through that same horrible feeling before on a day that I didn't think I would be able to. And when you're in those moments where you feel like you can't get through the rest of the day, it hurts to breathe. It feels sharp. It feels sharp to breathe. You feel like you can't keep breathing. You feel like you have to do something to make that stop. But I just knew at that point, because I've been through this now, if I can just keep pushing the exhale out, that in a few exhales, one of them won't feel as sharp. And once one of them lets up, it lets up pretty quick. I'm embarrassed, because I didn't think I'd be back to this place again. I didn't think I'd be back to this place ever again. And then this is where you guys come in. I don't feel like I have any places to turn. And I don't want to come here and burden you. I don't want this to look like I'm doing some sort of sob story. People have real issues in the world. It makes me feel stupid that I cry about anything. But after I would get through a few days of utter isolation and utter inner hell alone, there are 3 of you who I stay in pretty constant contact with, as constant as I've ever been with anybody. Peaches, Laurie, and Bonnie. And I even avoid you guys like the plague when I've been in the worst of it. And then when you avoid somebody, you're afraid to come back. The anxiety grips you, and you're embarrassed and you're afraid. It's been a week. It's been 2 weeks. If I message right now, they're just going to be so done with me and be like, you're dramatic, I'm over it, you're out. Because that's kind of what I'm used to, being told that I want too much or that I need too much. Being told as a child, toughen up girl or the world's gonna eat you alive. Being told in my marriage, I don't see what the problem is. Like, you have a nice house, you have the kids that you wanted for years. What's the problem, you know? But I feel really alone, really alone. And then when it gets crippling, I actually make myself further alone. And the thing is, when I finally open that gate again and I reach out to Peaches and Laurie and Bonnie, they didn't tell me to toughen up. They didn't tell me that they're over me. They told me they love me. They told me that they don't want me to go through it alone when I'm in my hardest part, my hardest points, and that it hurts them to know that I'm suffering it alone. And to just check in, just reach out to them and check in, instead of pushing me away for drama. They've modeled to me what love and friendship are. They've kind of sat with me and given me space to feel this mess that I'm in. They've told me in very honest ways that I have very hard decisions I have to make. And that they just don't want me to feel alone while I'm having to make them. I don't think I've ever had friends before. I didn't know that. You don't know what you don't have. You don't know what you've never had until you have it. I didn't know that I didn't know what love felt like. I didn't know that I didn't know what love felt like until BTS, and now more specifically, ARMY. You know, we get flack for being delulu and for, don't you realize it's parasocial relationships and that these gorgeous men don't even know that I exist. But they do know that I exist. They may not know me by face or name, but they know I exist like I know you exist. And they're there for me the way that I want to be able to be there for you if you need somebody. And the way that I now know some of you want to be there for me. And it takes the whole thing like out of parasocial relationship and into real time. You cannot tell me that when Jen enlisted, was that a week or two ago? You cannot tell me that, I guarantee you, he probably felt an aloneness in what he was in. But he also knows that there's a world full of people who he can feel spiritually, who love him and want well for him. There are people who don't, but he also knows that there's more to the story and people who are there. And like yesterday, I just saw that picture that V took of Jen's hands doing the heart after the 2018 white paper project hell that ARMY and BTS went through together then. And like, that's exactly it, right? Like, parasocial blah blah. Why are you defending people who don't even know you and have all this money or whatever? It's because they need love too. They need support too. And they've been there for us, and we turn around and we're there for them. And then they acknowledged that in the middle of their own hell they were going through. They acknowledged to ARMY that they saw what ARMY was doing to support them and love them, and that meant something. And now it's gone from BTS saving my life to ARMY saving my life. So anyhow, so much drama, so much crazy. I have no idea how much I'll leave in this edited version that I'm about to post of everything I just said about how my year has gone. I don't know what I'll take out, but I do know that I want you to understand that if you are feeling really alone for the holidays, that I'm with you here in spirit. And while you and I are not sitting together and decorating any tree or having any cocoa bombs or coffee, and even though you may or may not have actual people in your house to celebrate the holiday with, and I do, and if you do, you may feel the same pressure that I feel. Like, I feel overwhelmed. I have 2 beautiful children, and I don't even want to celebrate Christmas at all because I'm so emotionally just fatigued and disappointed in myself this year. But I also realize that's not loving myself. And that if I'm going to survive 2023, literally if I'm going to survive, I have to get back. What is it from yet to come? Back to 1? I've got to go back to the beginning. They were boys who loved music. I was a girl who loved their music. I was a girl who loved the ties to psychology. Like, before I knew ARMY existed, really, I was in deep reading Carl Jung and reading 2 translations of Demian because I discovered the Wings album and falling down this rabbit hole of their hearts and their vulnerability that they've been able to share with us over the years. And then this year, I took myself back out of all that. And that's just not gonna work. Anyhow, listen, I swear I didn't come here to cry and for you to comfort me. I just wanted to be vulnerable. Not just open, but be vulnerable. And I want to forge that path of honesty with you better again. It's been a process, right? I opened up enough in 2021 that I found some of you and that you found me. And I thought I was trying to be there for you, but it turns out gaining friendships with you has been like everything to me in 2021 and then 2022. And then I pushed everything away because I was so afraid that it would be the demise of my marriage. And it turns out pushing away all of that has been the demise of my soul. And then for Peaches and Laurie and Bonnie, in no particular order there, to show me that I am enough, and that I am worth being loved. And that even though I have been in this mess and crying these same tears now for 1.5 years, that they still love me. And I feel for the first time ever like I understand what it feels like to be loved. And it's because of ARMY. So try to make yourself vulnerable somehow. And if you're feeling alone, whether you're feeling stuck in a mess that feels like you can't escape in your own life, or whether you feel just alone by circumstances. My nose piercing is like ripping. It's a fluke. It's like a manufacturing defect. My piercer was awesome. Anyhow, if you keep seeing me touch it, I've got to go get it changed. This one is sharp and it keeps cutting me. Not good for the healing process. Metaphor! Just please know that you're not alone. Look at these gorgeous funny ding-dongs. So I've got at the top of the ornament, at the top of the tree, an ornament my son made. My 4-year-old son, he just turned 4. A crown for the kings of BTS. Sorry, Jesus is the king. I do realize that. Christmas, from a spiritual perspective, is the birth of our newborn king. So I'm not trying to be sacrilegious here. This is just my BTS tree. Like, 7 kings. Just like the ornament that I made last year for Permission to Dance, which I planned on making a ton of ornaments this year. I was going to make a ton, and I was going to send them to you guys. I was going to make Christmas cards to send to hundreds of you. And instead, I have sat on a couch and cried. I have mommed hard, taken care of my kids, and then as soon as I have a chance to breathe, I just collapse and cry. And that has been the story of this year. And I'm not going to survive another year of that, and I know that. So I'm sorry that I didn't get to make all the ornaments and the Christmas cards that I wanted to send to you guys. Put these OT7s up at the top where they matter with the king's crown. And then V in red is hanging out up there too. Fluke. So anyhow, you have this video. I wish it were cheerier. I wish I had more cheery things where we were doing cocoa, marshmallows, and stringing garland. Not garlic, that'd be weird. We're not vampires. We're protecting ourselves from vampires. We're definitely not protecting ourselves from a certain vampire. I wish this were a cheerier Christmas video. But because I feel so much sadness over this year, and I've avoided Christmas so strongly in the weeks leading up to today, Christmas Eve, or Christmas for you perhaps. I know there's the philosophy of fake it till you make it. Like, you'll get in the mood. But I'll be honest, that works to an extent. It also makes me feel worse because it makes me feel like a fraud. I don't want to fake it till I make it. I want to fucking make it. I don't want to fake it till I make it. I want to be honest as I'm climbing up the cliff, climbing up the mountain to get to the summit, to get to the view. I want to be honest as I'm going through the darkness of the forest, trying to find daylight again, or trying to find the stars, my North Star to direct me. So fake it till you make it blows. It's not my MO around here. And you know what? If you're at home right now and you clicked on this because you feel alone, anyhow, I know that if you're watching this because you're bummed, you're not faking it till you make it. You're in it. You're in it, whatever it is for you. And you may not even be able to put your finger on what it is, because for years I was struggling and I couldn't put my finger on it. And even when BTS saved my life, I still couldn't put my finger on it. It took me like another 8 months for the epiphanies to start just really unfolding. I'm just really disappointed in myself that I couldn't present a better side of myself to you in 2022. I feel like a failure, and like I couldn't set any example for anybody. Not you, not my kids. I didn't get to prove to myself that it's better to be alive, still alive. And I really thought I would get to prove that to you this year. And instead I just struggled deeply. So if you're feeling alone, I wish I could just put this tree in your house with you, and that we could sit together and have some cocoa or whatever and just chat and hug and laugh and cry and watch Run BTS or whatever. I'm also going to post in the next day or so some videos about Indigo and Namjoon. Don't be alone. Find Reactors, and while I know a lot of Reactors do the like, woo, hype, 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 hype kind of vibe, and that's great and all, but you know, when I started here, BangtanSouls, which at the time I didn't have the name for it or anything, I didn't quite know what I was doing. I just knew some of those really hype Reactors felt a little off to me, and they were fun to watch. It was fun to watch people get excited about BTS the way I had just felt about them. But somehow quickly they stopped feeling like friends that I connected with, which is how I feel about BTS. And they started to feel more like hype men, showmen, you know, people putting on the cool show and like life's good and like my gang is the best or whatever it is. Bullshit, mine is. This tribe, BangtanSouls, true BangtanSouls, the things that I've experienced this year, the best things I've experienced this year largely have been when I have come here and been through you, whether it was watching Dreamers. Oh my gosh, the comments from people in the Middle East under my reaction to Dreamers made me so, I felt connected to people, to souls. And is that not what this is about? And if it's not what this is about, what the hell are we doing here? Like, what is our purpose if it's not to connect and to find the things that ignite us and give us passion and make us want to wake up and live? Obligation is not, and like fatigue, and it's really hard to feel that way when you've compounded that with feeling neglect and overwhelm and burden and isolation. So Merry Christmas, and we can toast to not really being alone, even though we feel like it. Not really being alone, because we are fighting this together And I really want to have hope that 2023 will be better. I can't say I have that hope. It feels frozen, or more like concrete. But I want to have that hope. And thanks to anyone who's reached out to me, for every single person who's left a comment this year, I've read every comment. I've replied to few, but I've read every single comment and I have sobbed. I know that's not a shocker. Thank you. Thank you for showing your love. I wish that I could hug you specifically, and each and every one of you. And I hope that you love yourself enough to find ways to make yourself a little more vulnerable to somebody. Take that risk. And not everybody is going to be kind about it. And there are people who will abuse vulnerabilities. But I hope you find someone who loves you. I feel really blessed. As alone as I have felt, I felt really blessed at the end of this year because of you. God loves you. I love you. BTS loves you. I pray that if you're struggling to love yourself, that you are able to figure out little ways to take that change now. Let me know what that change is. In the comments, let me know what you're working on. And I hope to be here more for you in 2023. Not just to show you a good side of me, but to be there. I love you. Bye.
One in the park as well. It's the 30 kind that doesn't mind the snow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Soon the bells will start, and the thing that'll make them ring is the carol that you sing right within your heart.